there you go. The clock has started. D2, D4, D5. Will we be seeing no? Queen's Gambit declined. Remember, in their rapid game, Jeffrey got a very decent position.
This line.
C takes D4. This line is making a
Irish
comeback.
Gambit.
Fun line.
Yeah, there's something about this line that keeps coming back. Once in a while, it reaches its ugly head.
It's like fashion, right? It just kind of goes back and forth.
Basically, white could win a pawn there with knight or queen takes d5, but
And Jeffrey, no doubt, has that memorized down to the T.
and Nakamura wanted nothing to do with that variation, playing the more positional and less ambitious line e3, saying, you know what, young man, you can have the opening bout. I do not mind playing equality. I'm going to outplay you later.
Yes, if you're not like really up to date with the latest and greatest as far as queen takes d5, the gambit is concerned, ducking is not a bad choice.
No.
We should point out, by the way, that there are two players on diverse ends of the spectrum at the moment. Sam Shanklin lost his first 2 games. Lee Kwang, that's bad for him, considering that he had such great games earlier in the event.
Right.
Lee Kwang Lim has won his first 2 games, the only player in the field who's done that so far. So watch out, because he's a blitz specialist as well. So he could start making some noise, but they're going in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Tale of 2 cities there.
Let's take a look at what Hikaru is doing. Bishop d2, I feel, is a pretty strong concession in this kind of positions.
Why?
Because you give up a bishop.
You mean just simply knight takes d2, queen takes d2. Again, whenever we're trading, we're playing against the isolated queen pawn, I want to see trades of minor pieces. So why do you think knight takes d2, queen takes d2 is that big a deal?
It's not a huge deal, but I think it's a minor concession in the sense that you give up the bishops.
Yes, in the sense you're not taking this knight under any circumstances. No. I'm assuming you're playing bishop e6,
yeah.
castles, and we just get along with business.
I still think pretty much equality in that position.
The question I had, though, is a similar idea, different approach is, should I trade bishop takes c3 and try to split your pawns?
I think that's also a possible scenario, but I had talked about earlier that Hikaru tends to love these structures where you split the A and B pawns, you take on c3, and you're fighting against an isolated pawn on d5. Right. Hikaru has basically made a living winning these kind of strategical positions.
Okay. So that's why you're not anticipating bishop takes c3 by Jeffrey. And did Jeffrey come up with a
bishop g4?
A third alternative, bishop g4.
All right, he's kind of waiting for white to castle. Question is, what happens on knight takes e4?
Knight takes e4, d5 takes e4.
And no real problems there. The bishop on b4 is defended.
By the knight on c6, that is true. But for the moment,
pawn takes f3.
I am considering bishop takes b4, pawn takes, because I can't play knight takes b4 because there is queen a4 check. I have to avoid this. There's a trap in the position that if the knight retreats, the pawn on e4 is captured. So bishop, I don't know, bishop g4 might.
Yeah, what is the idea?
Feels
because
wrong.
Knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, bishop takes b4, pawn takes f3. Can I take on f3? G takes
yes.
f3?
I actually even like playing queen takes d8 as well, but I absolutely do believe that I can win a pawn. Castles by
Hikaru. None of that.
Okay,
but I don't
potentially a missed opportunity there by Hikaru.
Maybe we're missing something, but I don't
Hikaru is such a great tactician.
Well,
I just glanced at the engine and it said, yes, a pawn win was there.
Knight takes e4.
Correct.
Oh, a miss by the players there. Unusual that we see more than them.
We're going to take away the membership card of Hikaru into the Pawn Grubbers Club. Castles.
But I didn't like that move, bishop g4 in general.
It felt like a hiccup kind of move. Castles by Jeffrey. Now the moment has passed. Knight takes e4, d5 takes e4, bishop takes b4, knight takes b4. There is no queen a4 check anymore. Black's perfectly fine.
I think Black's okay in this position, right?
Yes.
He has so much development. He does have that strategical problem with the isolated pawn that's more or less permanent. But look at white's pieces, really not putting that much pressure.
And by the way, bishop d2 to e1, we talked about old school chess when we were in the Rapids, and the old guys would put their bishop on e1 and e8. But usually they kind of brought the rook out first. So I'm not, bishop d2 to e1 doesn't really inspire confidence. Having said that, Hikaru, is trying to get Jeffrey into playing that pawn structure that you mentioned, the split pawns, a2, c3 versus the pawn on d5.
I would have automatically recaptured with the bishop. I did not like burying my bishop on e1.
I must confess, I think you're absolutely right. Bishop takes c3 would have been played by myself in an instant. b2 takes c3.
I'm warming up to white's position because of the bishop on e1. I'm thinking you go knight e5, knight c4, you control the light squares.
Say what, say what, say what? Knight d4, there was a trade of light square bishops.
Yeah.
By the way, Wesley So mixed something up in the opening and is dead lost after just 17 moves.
Whoa,
Say what? Say what?
Back to that one.
Against Lee Kwang Lim. We said
Whoa.
he was on fire. Wesley So, something in his opening didn't work, and now he is getting rolled. He's in huge trouble in his game.
That's really extraordinary
That's
because
fascinating.
Wesley has had such a great year in terms of solidity from his openings have been great.
If it's going to be 3 out of 3 from Le Quang Liem, I'm starting to get Firouzja vibes.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Liam dead last as he started today's action. But
Like Firouzja was in that tournament where he scored a huge amount of points in the Blitz portion.
yeah, well, Liam is a former world Blitz chess champion, and he's regaling us with some of that form that made him world champion. By the way, f3, knight f6, bishop h4. I would have been very reluctant to play the move knight f6. I thought knight c5 was the intention. Nope. Knight f6 was played, bishop h4, rook e8, and we're caught up with the players on our analysis board. Is that pin...
Knight f4, and we're about to find out if there are some problems for black in this position. Rook takes e3, it runs into bishop takes f6, knight takes d5 with a double attack. So Hikaru is certainly trying to expand. And JX said, I don't care.
Yeah,
Rook takes e3, I'll take with the pawn.
Yes, and that's what he's done. But boy, those double pawns on the king side, will they come back to haunt Jeffrey?
On the other hand, he is pretty active, and that pawn on c3.
That is
it's
true.
a big weakness. Knight takes d5. I expect to move rook e5 to play it very quickly.
Yes.
Or very quickly.
Very quickly.
Wow, maybe he doesn't like the move.
Maybe rook e6.
No, rook e5 played. It seemed like the normal place for the rook.
Same move.
Faster.
It was better. Yeah.
Jeffrey with 1:20, and Hikaru with 2 minutes on the clock. The move c4 on the board. Knight a5, and said,
and now
give me
F4.
that pawn.
But wait a minute, there's queen g4 check.
Yasser, do you think that Jeffrey's trying to get into the pawn grubbers club too early?
Yeah, he could be. He could be, but okay. I'm looking at queen g4 check, and where am I going to put the king?
On h8, right?
On h8, okay. And no rovers. Rook f3, knight c4, rook g3. I haven't come to a conclusion on
It's
that
tough,
one.
and Hikaru has 1:32. Figure it out. Queen g4. Wait.
Queen g4 check did get played, right?
No, queen h5 actually was the move that Hikaru chose, not giving the check, not scaring the king away. A little surprised he didn't interpose the move queen g4. But JX said, give me that pawn.
Got to
I don't
admire
believe you.
his direct approach to the position.
So Jeffrey with an extra pawn, but clearly the weakness of the king side is going to be plenty of compensation. Rook f3 was played, as we're being told that Wesley actually ended up miraculously saving that game. A draw, a big one for Wesley. So as we see Hikaru on the hunt against this young man, Jeffrey Xiong.
Exactly. Those double pawns are beginning to haunt a little bit. And again, if you don't mind telling me the time.
40 seconds for Jeffrey. About there. 40
And
seconds now.
hesitating.
Knight
Ooh.
e5. What a move.
Okay.
The knight wants to retreat to g6 and defend everything. And currently the knight on d5 is hanging.
There is rook h3 check. Ooh.
No, rook g3 check? You mean
What?
knight g6?
No, pardon me, rook h3, I was thinking was the problem with knight e5, and Hikaru instantly played rook g3. I think there was some opportunity there with rook h3 at once, but we do have rook h3 now on the board. What was knight e5, rook h3?
I don't know.
It was fine for black.
It was
fine for
okay?
black. All right,
Okay.
let's take a look.
Because I saw c8 was hanging.
But how did
and,
h6? Oh, there's no mate on h8, and
This
because
kid is a
Right.
boss.
What
Whoa,
a move by
27
Jeffrey
seconds.
Xiong. Wow.
So f5 doesn't work, I assume, because
Rook
you take on-
e5?
No,
Rook
queen
e5.
takes d4. No, rook e5. Yes, sorry.
Yes. Well, queen d5 in this queen d4 check. You may be right. f5, queen takes d5. Looks like a refutation to the move f5.
Yeah.
Do we have to play knight e3 and pirouette
maybe
back to
no,
the f5
knight e3,
square?
queen
No.
d4 starts looking awful. I think you play
Yes.
rook d1. You put that
But
rook.
rook.
Oh, rook d3 looks like a bit of a concession. Rook d6 instantly played by Jeffrey, equalizing time pretty much. Remember, they have a 2-second increment. 27 seconds for Jeffrey, 31 for Hikaru.
c5, rook c5.
Pile on the pressure. Why
yeah,
not, right?
this pins all over the place. The rook on
What a
c5
game.
will be hitting the
Oh, that's a
queen.
lot of time. Say move faster. Remember,
Right.
queen f3. Look how Hikaru instantly replies.
King g7?
Or
no.
king f8. He moves out of the checks.
I was thinking but king f8 looks like a solid decision as well.
The kid's so calm.
I know.
He's a little too calm. I would like for him to
yeah,
get
yeah. Feeling the heat.
H4. What if I take that guy?
H4.
He's the one that I don't want to take that.
And instantly knight e7. Not even
Consolidating.
considering.
He has to take on e7. I take on d3 now. Start simplifying the position. Wait,
Rook d3, rook d3,
Why is he
queen
hesitating?
e7.
What
He
is
has
that?
to take on D3. He's got 3 seconds left.
Dude,
What?
play faster. You're
Queen
stressing
takes
me out.
E7.
He's got to play queen.
There's
he can
no
throw a
flag.
check
What are you
in.
doing? What are you doing?
What just
He
happened?
flagged. He flagged. He flagged.
What?
He just let his time run out. He was hesitating too much.
No, he was lost at the final position, I think, because queen takes e7, queen a8.
Check and rook g3
And
check.
Oh, that was probably a blunder at the end there
Right.
by Jeffrey Xiong. Let's look at Rapport currently in second.